Book 1, Bazur's Plot, Chapter 50, 51, and 52. Chapter 50, Leaf, Lift, Loft, the Treehouse Village. I felt better after chewing a little while on Sylvester's remedy, whatever it was that she gave me. Obviously, she had seen me being afraid of the heights. I approached the ladder, curling around the nearest tree trunk, and started to climb up. Why was the treehouse village in this wood, where the trees were super high? I asked myself in my thoughts. I did not really care who followed me or what Jack was doing. All I wanted to do was my left side of the village and then get down. Although I must admit I was not feeling afraid here now. I'm sure Sylvester's remedy was helping me. I looked at the other side and saw Jack trying to fit into the first tree house. These were quite big houses, but he was still a big man. It looked like he was trying to fit into the playhouse-sized place. It made me laugh. Jack looked like he could murder me by looking at me. Tim and Tom, who were significantly smaller, smiled behind his back, but did not dare laugh at him like I did. Sylvester and Ellen were following me, and they were the smallest of us, so they had no problem fitting into the houses. I checked the first house and nothing. I came out and looked at how we were going across to the next house. I saw that between some of the houses were bridges and some had lianas. So I guess that is how we just crossed to the other house. Here I needed to use liana. I was really not sure how this was going to play out and looked below. I saw more bears ready below to catch us if needed. Our left side had one Stonehide, who was the biggest, and on Jack's side we had Deep Claw and Garno, who was still big Moorbairns. Obviously, he was bigger, so I guess he got two for that reason. I smiled and felt more comfortable. I thought, well, I gotta try. I backed up a little and swung myself forward. Well, see, this works. And I let go when I saw the next treehouse floor under my feet. It worked. I turned to look at Sylvester, who pulled the liana back for her, and she waved at me to go ahead, so I did. Here in this treehouse was somebody. I did not sense anything dangerous, so I uncursed the chair. It was an older lady creature. She was not happy to me, a human. But thankfully Sylvester right behind me as you recognize her. Sylvester, why are you here? Bazur is here. Sylvester took her hand and said, no, he's not. You were cursed. Sarah here uncursed you. Let me help you down. We will evacuate all of you to White Goddess Palace to recover, and then later you can return back home when you are in full force again. I was a little wondering why Sylvester was speaking like that and promising home returning, but I guess she knew her well. I continued to the bedroom and I noticed there was another one and uncursed that one too. It was an older man, probably the first one's mate. Sylvester and a very awake older lady came after me and started tending to the old man. I went out and continued to the next house. Ellen followed me, leaving Sylvester to talk to the elderly couple and asking them to descend in order to be transported to the palace. I saw that Jack did find others on his side of the houses. The houses were not that much apart, so I could take Liana and swing myself to the tree house or walk on bridges. That, well, can you call them bridges? Well, kind of bridges from house to house. Also, Jack was making it from house to house easily. It was like two rows of tree houses very high up on the trees. He had some younger folks coming out of to the terrace area supported by Tim and Tom, and we had about 20 houses, or maybe less, here up in the trees. I continued to my next house. Clearly, Bazur had managed to surprise the village, since so many of them were cursed in their houses. I wonder how he managed to do that. I would assume that even at the night, there would be some noise or someone would have tried to stop him. Jack and I finished the uncursing, and after a short discussion with the tree tribe, it seemed that we had found all of the members. Torantara had joined us up in the trees, and they were discussing with the two elders that I had wakened first. Tora told Jack that Jack and I to descend, and I came with us himself, and said at the bottom to all of us, Free Tribe does not want to come to the palace. They want to stay here in their homes. I will take some of our food up there so they can restart their life a little easier. They are very stubborn tribe, always been here. So I don't see any reason to argue with them. They are actually quite safe here since Bazur normally um, does not leave the ground, doesn't climb up. So I don't know how he managed to this, but we will get into it later. I asked. Do we have food other than our sandwiches right now, or do we send it from ask to send to gather more from the meeting point? Tora smiled. I actually asked more bears to go get our dinner foods, and I sent message to bring more for us later. So, so we leave all that was meant for our dinner, which will feed this tribe for a few days and let them recover properly. And he said that as he said that, Deep Claw skidded in front of us with huge bags of food, Garnock right behind him. All three Myriads approached Tora said, Let's make a chain of food passing to the ladders. You go on top, and more bears can stand on with their back feet, and that takes care of a lot of height already. Tora went to the top. Myriad spread next, and Stonehide came to hand the packages since he was the tallest when standing on two back feet. And here the tallness was really good thing. Tree Tribe was also reaching down and taking packages from Tora. Once that was all done, Tara said goodbyes to Tree Tribe and bowed. All of them bowed to the medical elves and down to us into the ground where we were standing. They were grateful for helping them. They just did not want to leave their homes. Once all were back down again, Tara nodded. They will have a night watch until the situation is cleared with Bazur. They do not know what happened, but one of them remembers waking up something and then nothing. I guess that is when Bazur cursed them from cabins and such. So, and they were aware that Bazur was going rounds, so it was unfortunate surprise. So he has figured out a way to climb up the halfway or something, or then cursing them in their beds, in their tree houses. So they will have to watch further away from him every night. They need to watch out for him every night from now on. That made sense how the whole tribe was cursed into their houses. Tara continued. Medicine elves, great remedies help them a lot already, and food we left will keep them, give them opportunity to rest and recover. They will be all right. Sylvester also left bottle of remedy for the elders who are always taking this curse way much worse than the younger ones. Dora nodded. It seems that we can then go for our next village of the day. It is quite far west. So we will go there and probably camp out close to it for the night. So far, we have avoided Bazur, so that is great. Chapter 51. That was an experience. The usual queue was up again, in the lead of Deep Claw and Tara. The trail was also just one person to walk, so we all walked one after another. I started to scan the left side and smiled a little. I always seem to I always seem to pick the left side. I heard Jack asking me, "Do you want to switch?" I was about to say no, but then I had a thought. Why not? It might keep us more alert. It will be weird though. Jack was quiet for a moment. True, let's switch them. You are now at the right, and here we go. I started to walk on the right side of the trail, which was literally maybe 10 centimeters to my right, to remind me that this was now my side, and turned my head clearly to the right. It felt weird, but it was refreshing, I have to say. We came to a crossroads of trails. There was a bigger trail coming from the right, going then to the left. We came from the small trail, crossing it. Dora stopped, pointing out to the right. This trail is meeting up in the first village of the day. This is the main trail, so we need to scan this. Garnock and Sarah, do you mind riding on one side of this to the village and coming back to the other to make sure we did not leave anyone behind? If Deepclaw, you ride with Tim and Tom after her, so we have also the medic elves close by. I noted, that's all right. That gives me opportunity to ride Garnock and for us to learn how fast he can run in order for me to still be able to perform the chant. And then when we are going to Bazur's battle, Garnock came by me and let me get up on him, on his back. I looked at Jack and said, now you have both sides, and smiled at him. Dora said, this is a short way, so it should be only take a few minutes before you are back. We took the long route to cover those 2 villages that are out of the main route. And good that we did. We split up, and I was getting used to sitting on Garnock's back and scanning. My scanning ability started to be really great. I am proud of myself. I literally had to keep my eye on the area, and I knew right away if there was a living thing or not. It was so easy now and natural. I was to tap on Garnock's neck to stop to do the uncursing and get the rescued creature up on Deepclaw's back. On the way to the village, there was nothing, nobody. Garnock was making a U-turn, and I practiced how to stay in one. It was fun, but not so fun at the same time. Garnock's fur was so soft and slick that I started to slide on the side. I made myself flat and grabbed his fur, but still kept scanning on the left. This flattening did help. Garnock knew that he made it easier for me, but clearly he was also seeing how much I can handle, so he was a little pushing it. This was really good practice for meeting Bazur for sure. We made the turn nice, and Garnock continued running back. Not super fast, but reasonable speed. I could see Deepclaw smiling and doing turn way slower for allowing elves to stay in. I tapped Garnock. We barely left this trail back from the village, and there was a lot of things here, maybe 20 of them. Deepclaw also stopped behind us. I demounted Garnock and said to him, go get Stonehide and maybe Dora. We have about 20 here. Since we are close to the first village, maybe we can do transport immediately. Garnock left and started to uncurse. There were all kinds of creatures awakened. Some elves, but mostly these different creatures that I did not know the names for. And one more Varkun. I'm sure our Varkuns that recovered earlier and were now helping with the boat transport would be very happy. This one was young lady Varkun. Oh, and a kid Varkun. Oh my. I wonder if this is one of the Varkun's children. They did not really talk. They were silent ones. Tim and Tom were busy helping with the recovery remedy. I took my pouch too and started helping the last ones. Garnock, Tora, and Stonehide came back, and Tora's eyes widened. I expected you to find a couple. That is why I sent 2 more bears. But not a whole busload. Everyone just smiled, since we were busy helping and explaining what happened and where we're taking them to recover. I suddenly saw Capricor's feet in front of me. I raised my eyes and it was Tico. I said, "Ah, so good to see you. I feel you are somewhere around, but I never can tell where." Tico smiled and said, "You're coming with me." Tara sent me a message. "Guys will take care of the rescues to the tunnels and to the boat. And I will take you to the others to keep the group more together. So we can keep you safe and keep you on your task." I got up. I understood fully. It was up to me and Jack to keep scanning. That was the most important task. So others can take care of the transports and things. I looked at the height of the Antico and said, "How do I get up there?" Tom laughed behind me. "Here, let me help you up. Step on my hand and I will bounce you up. You will need to jump at the same time." I looked at him a little worried, but I had to learn to trust all of the creatures here. I put my feet up to his hands and asked, "Ready?" And he asked, "Ready?" I nodded. Wow, he really did bounce me up, and I was flying towards Pico's back. I landed less than gracefully on top of him. He had his arrows and bow on his back, crossing the back, but I could still fit nicely behind them. I said, "Sorry for the clumsy arrival, but I am here and I feel quite steady. I need to scan the last bit of the left side. So if you care to run on the left side trail, please." Tico nodded. "Where do I hold on? What would be a good place for you?" Tico turned his head a little bit. "Squeeze your legs together and balance yourself with that. You can also lean a little forward and put your hands to on my back to balance." I said, "Okay, ready then." It may seem to you that I just left the others without any thought, but I know they would sort out things and come to meet us later. As said, my job is to keep scanning. He ran quite slowly and steadily back to the others. They had not made a lot of progress so far, since Jack had to scan both sides, and it was a lot back and forth walking between the trails. This was a wider trail. He had tried to do it in the middle, but he had felt the outcome was not so certain uh, that he didn't miss any living ones. That was true. Some of the living ones were just within the range of our scanning when we were walking on the side of the trail. The return trip with Tico was eventless, thankfully. So Jack and others were happy to see us. I demounted Tico and said hi to everyone. Tara said, "Let's get scanning. We are late to what we thought we could do, and the sun is not far to set, and we will need to make it to the village." Everyone got serious and we got our places. I took the right and Jack was on the left. We started to walk a little faster to catch up some time, but still do throughout job on scanning. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone was worried about Bazur. There was these bizarre noises from far away. We started to hear them, especially when we were high in the tree houses. Nobody said really anything, but everyone knew they must be caused by Bazur's things or whatever he was doing. It was like a metal clinking or something. It did not feel good, and it made my stomach grow knot a little bit every time I heard it. This was clearly worrying. We had managed to do almost the first day and already covered many villages today with no sign of Bazur in this woods. This was amazing. We had one village left today, and then tomorrow some grounds before we would be in the Six Woods, which was where the Bazur and his army was. It was going to be very clear that we would at some point have to face him. Then at the Six Woods at the latest. I saw it. And I continued to scan. There was one good thing about this mounting pressure feeling. At least the concentration was perfect. Morberns and Tora returned in what felt like a few minutes. Well, the drop was not far off, and the Morberns were super fast. There were a few cursed ones on the way to the village, but not many. Tora took them with two Morberns back to the boat. They said that the place was now changed to avoid Bazur finding. So not to go to the first place anymore if there was a situation coming up. I tried to forget the upcoming meeting with Bazur and just stay on the task. We arrived at the last village of the day. The sun was already setting, but we were still able to see quite well. It was a lovely village. I remember Tara said that villages here on the Fifth Wood were going to be smaller than in the southern wood areas. There were only about a dozen houses. Tara pointed out the houses to Jack and said, "Can you please go to scan them now before the lights is out? We will leave. Leave at the sunrise. We cannot really use fire anymore to avoid being detected. Myria, can you go help to set up the camp? It is in the woods behind this Moonhedge village, but not in here for security reasons. Medical elves follows Jack and Sarah. Morberns, can you bring the food to the camp place? I noticed that somehow there were again massive food packages on them. Chapter 52, Moonhedge Village. Jack and I started to check the village's houses one by one. These were bigger. These were clearly Jack-sized. I smiled. So the expectation would be that we would find creatures a little bit bigger in size. I found a couple cursed ones outside their house for first time by the trees, and as a big stones. Medical elves and myriads who returned to setting up the camp were helping them to the center of the houses to wake up. All of the creatures were always brought together to awaken them, since it was likely that they knew each other and helped the process of waking up. They were always confused, but also could be defending an attack just before they got cursed. So that was sometimes still in their mind, and when they kind of woke up, and the same movement and feeling still remained, and they tried to attack us. It helped for them to see their friends and family around when they were being awake. Jack had also found few more who were helped in the middle of the village. I continued to go to my last four houses, and interestingly, every house had one there. Jack found still one couple and one young family with a child. There was some calming to do with the young family father, who clearly had been cursed while defending his family. But Tora, with the shining light, managed to do that in few moments. All creatures obviously knew who Tora was, so it was so good to have him always helping settle all of the awakening ones. Jack and I got finished with our houses, and I was talking to Sylvester, who I was helping with Sylvester, a young lady, to walk into the middle of the village. Jack came to help and took Sylvester's place supporting. It was a good idea, since Sylvester was half of the size of these big creatures, and they were on their two back legs. These creatures looked like little like Varkans in size-wise, but they were cat-like, while Varkuns were dog-like. I smiled, since I figured out finally what Varkens reminded me of the whole time. They reminded me of Jar Jar Binks. That is what they remotely reminded me of. I did not say anything. These creatures were big human sized, but they worked very smoothly, like big cats, but on two feet, at least now. They also did have a lot of features and manners like tigers or jaguars or any big cat, really. Very beautiful. The females were so stunning that I could not take my eyes off their beautiful features. The males were bigger in size, but not so smooth in movement. Very handsome, though. Tara had been talking to one of the creatures that was early awakened and started to be quite witty already. He clearly also ordered others to not attack when they were awakened, ensuring that we were safe and we were just helping them. Tara spoke to us when all were closely gathered in the center. This village did not get so surprised than others. They do remember better. The problem was that Bazur had already managed to get a couple of the teenagers to join his army. So Bazur had used them to lure them and started cursing the village creatures to stones and whatever, non-living things. Barak here tells me that their teenagers were like robots doing what Bazur wanted, and also physically keeping them in place for him to curse them. So that confirms our theory. I did not know what to say. So now we know at least these teenagers were trapped as Bazur's army. Barak continued. Barak has agreed that the tribe goes to recover to the palace. They will join us in a couple days later, depending on our situation, when they have time to recover. They are very powerful in close combat, even though they normally don't use those skills. The Barak tribe here is cat species and gives them great physique and speed abilities. We have a couple here that are not able to run yet, so they will be carried by moorbearers and to the boat. But others will actually run after the moorbearers, so that will help them to recovery too. Their recovery too. Tora said, "The sun is setting now, so Tara, take the others to camp and make sure the capritors that are staying around here will get food. I will have a couple with us to scouting to the new drop-off point. I will also tell Varkons to rest after the transport to the palace." All three moorbearers were loaded up with these creatures that were too weak or still out of it. And Tora was sitting on top of the deep claws, leading the whole transport. Clearly, moorbearers did not run at their normal speed, but they were still fast. They were gone in seconds, and Tara took us to the woods. The camp was very close to the village, but not visible from there, probably for security reasons. Tara called in capritors and made sure everyone had a big pile of sandwiches and other food. It was cold food, so it would not be smelly to reveal our location. But it was still amazing, tasty food. Capritors came in groups to eat, and once one group had eaten, the other one came in. I did feel secure and safe. But at the same time, those clicking, loud noises started to be more frequent, and they just made everyone nervous. They came really in patches. When they started again, everyone was looking at each other, but it just felt wrong to talk about it, like making everyone more afraid. It was like we had agreed not to talk about it for now, and it would be not so frightening. Toran Morbius returned with capritors. It was almost pitch black now. They started to eat and rest, and the rest of us climbed to our hammocks. I know that I would be the last in the hammock. When we were in the woods, since of her color, she was black as shadow, and she went always around making sure everyone was okay before resting herself. Tora was still shining light to us, but I saw him putting the cape on just to stop shining. It became totally black. I could see a couple stars above me, but it was hardly cloudy night, so even those did not light too much anymore. I let myself to fall asleep. Tomorrow will be another tense day. That was those chapters. Hey, let me know what you thought of them and what did you think. Comment below. Please subscribe and share the love of Myria for everyone. And come back to the next chapter. Bye.